This one's going to be about emotions, and it's also going to be about emotions and how to basically also control them. So it's in the end going to be a very, 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 very important episode. At least I believe it is very important, But there's going to be more after the intro, as always. Yeah. And with that being said, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast, and I am really happy to be here. And I'm also really looking forward to talking about this, since it is actually something that's truly important and truly necessary also to talk about, because there are a lot of people that are really truly struggling with emotions, dealing with emotions, coping with emotions, actually controlling them as well, because sometimes they're stronger than oneself. And this is then really fucked up, because you're going to be in a position that you do not really want to be in. And this is truly something you can work on. And this is basically what I'm going to go through today, which is, I think, something that's definitely quite cool, for quite a lot of people, I hope. Maybe this video isn't going to be found by anybody, but it's basically there. But yeah, let's actually move on. And I'm going to show you this article. And today is actually long time no see, basically. And now I've just seen the post that I'm going to post tomorrow. I'm basically using Buffer, if you're interested in something like that, for scheduling everything. And it really works fine. It really works really, really, really fine. It's a nice thing. Should I be reading it like this? I have actually never ever read it in this way. I've always just had it in such a way. Well, I think, yeah, okay, this is also fine, I'd say. It's actually not that of a long article, and I'm also just basically summarizing it. Therefore, it's not going to be a really long one, but afterwards we're going to go through something else as well, which is basically a little bit more scientific, I would say. But yeah, please check out the description, because I've forgotten to tell you, it is very important. So everything that you're going to see here, or everything that you're seeing here that is highlighted, and everything, therefore, that I'm also going to talk about, is in a PDF. And you can download this PDF for free and do just whatever with it. You can print it, you can just share it, you can just, whatever. Because it's cool, because you do not even have to go through the episode, which might be long, which might be 30 minutes. But for some people, it might be just really, really fucking fast. If they can go through something, they can just read. And therefore it is there. So you can listen to the podcast, watch the YouTube video, or you can read the summary PDF. So you're having everything. There should be something for everyone, which is nice. One of the great myths of self-compassion is that it is about lying to yourself. And this was just something right ahead that I was like, yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely not about lying to yourself, because faking till you make it is not going to get you that far. At least not in every singular sense, maybe, in every singular way, when it is just about life, because life has certainly quite a lot of ways. When you're self-compassionate, you're noticing difficult thoughts, showing up for them, and creating a sense of psychological safety for yourself. So this is basically like a competition, and not a competition, but a definition by them what compassion actually is. If you beat yourself up whenever you fail or fall short, this naturally inhibits you from trying new things and taking chances. Because of course, if you're doing something new and it's not working out, then you're just beating yourself up for that, just really beating yourself up, then you're not going to do it, because I don't know if you're just really trying to beat yourself up. Unless you're doing this, you're not going to try some new things again, because there's a negative association with that. And this is then pretty bad, because, you're always going to be in this spiral, in this downward spiral, basically, since you're only doing the same things, which are going to lead to the same things, because and this is also something that I had to think about, and I also thought about, and this is also one of the reasons why I'm not going to go through an article fully, so I'm not going to read an article again, at least not in the next 4 weeks or something. I told myself, and I said to myself, because, if I'm only going through something and reading it, I don't know if this is the best thing I can do. Whether it's actually whether it is about me and my capability of reading, because I'm not that of a good reader, and on the other hand, it is also this is correlation, or this is correlated to people watching it, because if I can't read and I'm reading something, then it's probably not going to be the best thing, even though it's very subjective. So I don't know in the end. But also, I feel better, on the just third hand, I really feel bad if I'm just going through some things and if I can talk about some things rather than reading them. And I guess this is just working a little bit better for me. And I do just also want to try things out, because if I'm always doing the exact same thing, then it's going to result in the exact same thing, probably. So trying out new things and doing new things is always a good thing, at least at my point of view. You know, it just depends on what it is all about. When it is about drugs, don't do new things. Just do your old ones. No, do none of them. It's not good. Please do none of them. In research studies, people who have greater levels of self-compassion tend to be more motivated, less lazy, and more successful over time. Rather than getting caught up in blame and judgment, they can learn from the experience and adapt and change course for the next time. So it definitely makes sense that you're not going to beat yourself up, because there's only going to be good things. There's only going to be positive things when you're not beating yourself up, and also when you're not judging yourself for whatever you're feeling, first of all. But second of all, I do also want to say, whatever you're doing and thinking, but more thinking than doing, because, I mean, sometimes what we're thinking might be, like, we should definitely monitor it. You know, we should definitely look at it and definitely see if there's something about that, and or if this is something that might be the truth. Whatever it is going to be about, just monitoring a little tiny bit and just, well, actually searching through all the thoughts that we are having and seeing whether it's good or bad, whether there is something that we can work with. But, I mean, sometimes thoughts can really be like fucking with you. And then judging yourself as well, it's not going to make anything better. It's going to make everything actually worse. So yeah, I think, again, this is truly fucking something that is necessary to be talked about. 70,000 people, I found about 1/3 of the participants judged their normal experiences and emotions as being good or bad, positive or negative. When you evaluate your life in such a black and white way, you're entering into an internal tug of war. You criticize yourself whenever you feel bad or negative emotions, and whenever you don't feel good or positive emotions. Like, there just has to be some gray things. And this is actually, which is something that's actually quite interesting. It is something that I've been talking about for quite some time a while ago. It might have actually also been like it's been definitely last year, and it might have been like actually a year ago or something, you know, a half a year into the whole process of the podcast. It might have actually been this point of time. And I do have to say, yes, you know, it's still the case. I think it is still something that's important to have, like, something that you're going to have something in between good and bad. I think it just makes sense, at least in my point of view. And I think it is also something that's quite important. Yes, just because, like, you know, it's not always like either good or bad. You know, there's also something in between. There's really also something in between. And I'm actually feeling very sorry for declining the call. So it's actually been not that important, which is quite a fucked up thing, because I'm having a little bit more work to do now. But it's fine, you know, because we never know. We never know if it's going to be something bad, if it's going to be something good, if it's going to be something important or not that important. But I'm fine with it. And I also should be fine with it. Like, it's a tiny bit more work, and that's quite it, you know. But good karma, which is amazing. But I don't know where I've stopped. This is another problem now. This is bad. Well, okay. I now know where I've stopped. Yeah, I've stopped here. This is bad. You know, this is now a quote, actually. This is bad. I shouldn't be feeling this. We can't. Why can't I be more positive? And then we follow up with this judgment with more judgment. Well, yeah. And or I'm feeling sad. Which is now the good thing, or what you should actually ask yourself. I'm feeling sad. What is the sadness a signpost of? What is it pointing to that's important to me, and what is it teaching me? And it is basically like asking yourself why you're feeling a certain way, which is, I think, a really incredibly important thing. But also, on the other hand, it's like trying to understand yourself. I'm sorry. Could you please be silent? Please be silent. Well, anyway, like you're gonna understand yourself better, and you're gonna be just more into the mindset of actually trying to understand yourself. Like, of course, you can be like, well, judging yourself and shit, you know, but then you're definitely not gonna ask yourself whether you're just doing this and that because of this and that, or if this is just actually showing you something or trying to show you something, because whether it is a positive emotion or a negative emotion, they all are showing us something, and they also should show us something. This is something actually that she is talking about later on as well, which is quite interesting to see, and it is also quite interesting to see from like a professional, I guess. Well, yeah. Think of your difficult emotions and thoughts as data. They can provide you with valuable information about who you are and what really matters. But on the other hand, it could also be like just complete bullshit. Like there's a lot of data that's quite just there and it's not that important. Feeling really frustrated at work, so ask yourself, what is this frustration a signpost of? What is it telling me about what is important to me? Because there might be something. When you can get curious about your experiences, you're 50% of the way to being self-compassionate. Like, why is this just like this and why is this just like that? Just basically, I think asking yourself is like in general a really important and also really good thing. When you're having a lack of self-compassion day, okay, it is really important to not criticize yourself and also not judge yourself, because, as I said, it's not going to make anything better, but it's going to make everything basically worse. No one wants to be with me, or I'm feeling sad, or I tried to do well in this project, but I wasn't successful. Would you punish them? If you're thinking about children, because if children come up to you and be like, well, is this actually something that I left out? Or I've forgotten to basically like mark it. Well, anyway, it is about children. And if somebody comes up to you, or if one of your children comes up to you and is like, no one wants to be with me, are you going to be like, well, yeah, that's completely right, you motherfucker? You're hopefully and probably not going to say that. But you're rather going to be just trying to understand this person. But this is just, I think, another problem that we're having as human beings in general, that for us, it is definitely easier to care about other people than it is to care about ourselves. And I think this is just also something, I don't know if I can interpret it in that way or if I can actually think about it in that way. But I mean, there's a lot of doctors, there's a lot of physiologists, there's a lot of scientists, there's a lot of nutritionists that do not really care about whatever they're actually trying to teach other people. Which means like, okay, you're going to have a doctor and this doctor is overweight and this doctor is unhealthy and this doctor is basically trying to make you healthy, but the doctor himself or herself isn't healthy. And then it is like, well, that's kind of fucked up. And it is quite of interesting because it's not about information in the end, or it seems to not be about information in the end. Ask, I notice that I'm feeling X emotion. What is that the child in me needs right now? Ultimately, self-compassion is about recognizing what it means to be human. If we are not able to enter into a space of kindness to ourselves, we are putting ourselves at odds with the reality of life. Well, yeah, because, I mean, if I assume that the reality of life is bad, then it is also going to be bad. If I don't assume that it is bad, then it is also not going to be bad. Well, yeah. This, by the way, was by Susan David, PhD. She's actually, well, I'm going to read it. Susan David, PhD, is one of the world's leading management thinkers and an award-winning Harvard Medical School psychologist. Her new #1 Wall Street Journal best-selling book, Emotional Agility, which I think the article beforehand from the TED site, I think it's been an excerpt of this book, but I don't know. Based on the concept Harvard Business Review heralded as a management idea of the year and winning of the Thinkers 50 Breakthrough Idea Award, describes the psychological skills critical to thriving in times of complexity and change. Well, yeah, a little bit about the author here. And I've actually found another article because I do just want to have more. I want to connect some dots. So this is another article. This is basically by the Harvard Business Review. I actually like the site really a lot, and I also like the logo, if you can say it is a logo. Well, yeah. And I unfortunately do not really know if I'm allowed to kind of republish this, since, well, you actually have to pay for that, for access. But you're going to have like 3 articles a month, I guess, or a week for free, which is nice, which is amazing. But yeah, yeah. Well, this article is by Susan David. We've been talking about her, and Christina Congleton, or Congleton. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, actually. 16,000, that's how many words we speak on average each day. But what about the words we are thinking and that we are just having in our minds, that we're having in our brains? The prevailing wisdom says that difficult thoughts and feelings have no place at the office. Executives and particularly leaders should be either stoic or cheerful. But that goes against basic biology, because we all have negative feelings, and we all have feelings that we should be thinking about, in terms of should be trying to deal with. And if we are always just putting them away, if they're always going to be back in the back of our mind because we're not really caring about them, it's not going to be good. I might be spoiling you right now, but it is not going to be good. And that's just our minds doing the job they were designed to do, trying to anticipate and solve problems and avoid potential pitfalls. And if actually you're thinking about this quote-unquote definition, it actually makes sense. It actually makes sense that you're having positive and also negative thoughts, because your brain and your body is trying to let you do things, or get you to do things that are smart. And if it is like, okay, you are afraid of doing something, then you're probably not going to do it. Unless you know by rational thinking that whatever you're trying to do or whatever you're about to do is not bad. It's not going to hurt you or something. We see leaders stumble not because they have undesirable thoughts and feelings, that's inevitable, but because they get hooked by them. They buy into the thoughts, treating them like facts. It was the same in my last job. I've been a failure my whole career and avoid situations that evoke them. I'm not going to take on that new challenge, or usually at the behest of the supporters, they challenge the existence of the thoughts and try to rationalize them. I shouldn't have thoughts like this. I know I'm not a total failure, and perhaps force themselves into similar situations, even when those go against their core values and goals. Take on that new assignment, you've got to get over this. And a lot of just try to deal with it by doing positive affirmations, prioritized to-do lists, immersions in certain tasks. But when we ask how long the challenge have persisted, the answer might be 10 years, 20 years, or maybe even since childhood, which is then not going to be a really cool thing or a really good thing as well. Attempting to minimize and ignore thoughts and emotions serves only to amplify them. In a famous study led by the late Daniel Wagner, a Harvard professor, participants who were told to avoid thinking about white bears had trouble doing so. Later, when the ban was lifted, they thought about white bears much more than the control group did, which is something interesting, really is. But I think this is something that a lot of people know about. It's not particularly something new, but it just is like, if you just tell yourself not to think about something, you're probably going to think about it, and you're probably going to worry about it if you just tell yourself to not worry about something. Effective leaders don't buy into or try to suppress their inner experiences. Instead, they approach them in a mindful, values-driven and productive way, developing what we call emotional agility. We've worked with leaders in various industries to build this critical skill, and here we offer 4 practices. And adapted from acceptance and commitment therapy, which is ACT. I've actually never heard of ACT before, but well. Originally developed by the University of Nevada psychologist Stephen C. Hayes, that are designed to help you do the same. Recognize your patterns, label your thoughts and emotions, and then accept them and act on your values, which is basically also like how they are doing it. But we're going to talk about it later on, a little tiny bit later on. That's strange. That's storks. Yes, you can hear that. It is storks. So let's start with 2 case studies. Cynthia, I think it's Cynthia, but I'm actually really unsure, is a senior corporate lawyer with 2 young children. She used to feel intense guilt about missed opportunities both at the office, where her peers worked 80 hours a week while she worked 50, and at home, where she was often too distracted or tired to fully engage with her husband and children. One nagging voice in her head told her she would have to be a better employee or risk career failure. Another told her to be a better mother or risk neglecting her family. Cynthia wished that at least one of the voices would shut down, but neither would, and in response she failed to put up her hand for exciting new prospects at the office and compulsively checked messages on her phone during family dinners. This basically reminds me of a story. I think it is a story. I think I can say story of a donkey, and the donkey is between water and ball of hay, or a ball of hay, and the donkey had one problem. The donkey is thirsty and hungry. So what should the donkey do first? Should he or she go at first to the water and drink some water and then go to the hay, or vice versa? In the end, the donkey died because the donkey wasn't able to decide what to do first. And therefore, the donkey did nothing. And so the donkey died. That's the end of the story. It's a little bit of a sad story, but this is basically the exact same thing, Unfortunately, Jeffrey, a rising star executive at a leading consumer goods company, had a different problem. Intelligent, talented, and ambitious, he was often angry at bosses who disregarded his views, subordinates who didn't follow orders, or colleagues who didn't pull their weight. He had lost his temper several times at work and been warned to get it under control. But when he tried, he felt that he was shutting off a core part of his personality, and he became even angrier and more upset. These smart, successful leaders were hooked by their negative thoughts and emotions. Cynthia was absorbed by guilt, and Jeffrey was exploding with anger. Cynthia told the voice to go away, and Jeffrey bawled his frustration. Both were trying to avoid the discomfort they felt. They were being controlled by their inner experience, attempting to control it or switching between the two. So there are 4 practices, as they say. The first one is recognize your patterns. The first step in developing emotional agility is to notice when you've been hooked by your thoughts and feelings. And also what might be some causes, why you're doing this, if there's some certain situations you're in which do really amplify certain things, or if it is about some places. In some places we are gonna feel differently than in some other places. You have to realize that you're stuck before you can initiate change. Yes, if you don't realize that something is wrong, you're probably not going to do something about it. The second thing is label your thoughts. Just as you call a spade, call a thought, and an emotion an emotion. I'm not doing enough at work or at home becomes I'm having the thought that I'm not doing enough at work or at home. Similarly, my coworker is wrong. He makes me so angry because becomes I am having the thought that my coworker is wrong and I'm feeling anger. It's more like you're just creating the quote-unquote illusion that it is not your personality, that it is not you, but it is just your thought. And letting your thoughts go away and just letting it just drive away, or whatever a thought is actually doing, I don't know, is much more easier if it is something that's external rather than something that's internal, something that's in you, something that is you, basically. Labeling allows you to see your thoughts and feelings for what they are, transient sources of data that may or may not prove helpful. Accept them. The opposite of control is acceptance. Not accepting on every thought or resigning yourself to negative, but responding to your ideas and emotions with an open attitude, paying attention to them and letting yourself experience them. Take 10 deep breaths and notice what's happening in a moment. This can bring relief, but it won't necessarily make you feel good. In fact, you may realize just how upset you really are. The important thing is to show yourself and others some compassion and examine the reality of the situation. You know, what's really going on is what is going on really, what really is going on. Act on your values. Is your response going to serve you and your organization in the long terms as well as in the short terms? ? Will it help you steer others in a direction that furthers your collective purpose? Are you taking a step toward being the leader you most want to be and living the life you want most to live, or most want to live. The mind's thought stream flows endlessly and emotions change like the weather, but values can be called on at any time in any situation. And it just makes sense. If you're acting on your values all the fucking time, there's no fucking way you're not gonna be on the right path. Basically, if you're just thinking about it, there's no way. Literally, no way. But yeah, this is gonna be the end of the episode. I hope that you've liked it. I hope that you found something and experienced something that you enjoy, that you're grateful for, that you wished for, maybe as well. But yeah, I'm gonna see you the next time, at least hope. So I wish you the best health, happiness, and also success, and also hope that you're gonna remind yourself and you're gonna be remembered, which basically means your legacy and basically means just being a nice person and then being remembered as a nice person. 3 other questions that I'm having for you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And the last one is: what bothers you the most? These 3 are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea. Well, yeah. And my software is not working again. Therefore, I'm going to talk. Therefore, I'm going to talk about some things. Well, now it is working. It is actually not working as it kind of should be working. Now, well, I wish you the best. I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye.